So I think the White study, the goal of it was to be a game changer as well, to be something that would change and shift clinical practice, being more patient-centered. Right now, clinical practice is often physician-centered. We need to be patient-centered. And also dermatologists, we're not well distributed in the United States. So, 90% of counties do not have access to a dermatologist who offers phototherapy. Which means for most people out there, if you need ultraviolet light to help manage your medical condition, you're sort of in a difficult situation. And we've made a lot of progress in medicine, in psoriasis in particular, but the reality is that many patients still don't get completely clear. Many patients may not want pharmaceutical management. They're worried about infections and things of that nature. And so patients need options available to them to manage their disease. And certainly beyond psoriasis, diseases like eczema, vitiligo, cutaneous T-cell lymphoma, these are all conditions that we regularly have to use phototherapy in our patients. And so what we really need to do is solve the problem, make it more patient-centered, and solve the systems issues so that way dermatologists can offer it in our office when the patients need it there, and patients can also receive it at home when that's the best way for them to receive it.
I get asked a lot about what's next and whether we should be dosing Skyrizi this way. Well, obviously not, because it's not a large study. It's a pilot study, and Skyrizi is already a very popular drug. It's a great drug. So I think what this means is perhaps re-envisioning in the future use of IL-23 blockers in a way that we haven't been using them. We've just only been thinking of them as the lowest possible dose that works, and then dose on a regular basis. And I think this study shows that we could potentially in the future, again with full studies and long-term analyses and so forth, but we could be dosing these drugs much higher and less frequently. So more of the knockout type dosing where you hit hard and then you don't need to dose much after that. You can just maybe hit the disease once a year. So that would be the ideal thing. Initial knockdown, possible once a year treatment if needed. So obviously to get to that point, to get to a drug like that is going to take years of development. And but we may see it happen.
I would say that this study really represents a major step forward in giving us valuable data on a patient population that has up until now been rather underrepresented in clinical trials, including in atopic dermatitis. I think that the fact that this study includes a measurement of a really key aspect of atopic dermatitis in patients with skin of color, specifically assessing post-inflammatory pigment changes, either hyper or hypo over time, I think is a really key step forward as well, because now we have another endpoint that is particularly relevant to our patients with skin of color. So as clinicians, we might be able to comment on the effect of a treatment like this and future treatments on not just the traditional measures of EASI score and IGA, etc., but also what are the changes in pigment over time that we could expect. So I think this is a major step forward, and I suspect that we're going to see more studies.
Well, one of the really important elements of this study that also, I think, reinforces how promising this might be is that it was only used in patients who were TNF failures. And so the overall severity of the group in the study was actually quite substantial, more early stage 3 patients than you would typically see. And so those tend to have lower response rates in general to therapies. So this really opens up this mechanism of action, helps to affirm that interleukin-1, but particularly interleukin-1 beta may be an important target. And I certainly hope to see it progress to further studies. Well, this is an amazing era for clinicians who treat HS and for our patients. We now have an armamentarium that gives patients choices, and they are so excited to get back into the clinic. But we're also learning a lot about the biology as we take these bedside to bench observations about what works and what doesn't work. So from a clinician standpoint these patients are the bravest patients in the world. They are so rewarding to take care of and work with to get to progression, and we're only going to get better at it.
For myself, it just recently hit, and it's happening pretty much on the way of coming to this meeting. So I've not had an opportunity to digest it all, but that's something I plan on doing over the next few days. I am the incoming president of the American Academy of Dermatology Society. We are going to put our heads together and see what we could find out and try to be helpful in terms of getting proper information out there. But I think we have to be careful. Obviously, that's a significant issue if there are high levels of a carcinogen in products. And so people obviously need to be cautious. I could understand if people want to put a halt to it till we have more definitive information. But sometimes people try to jump to be the first one to get the news out there, and accuracy is put behind the desire to be the first or get information out there quickly. But we need to get all the facts. And so that's what I'm in the process of doing right now.